ready to start. Hi everybody. I want to welcome you to the NCGIS conference. You are at the 1:30 presentation on QGIS, a look forward. My name is Elizabeth Daniel. I'm going to be the moderator, and before I turn it over to Randall Hall, our presenter, I just want to go over a few housekeeping items. I will be monitoring the chat in the chat window, so feel free to send questions during the presentation. We're going to save about 5 minutes after the presentation for me to relay the questions to Randall. So with that being said, I think we are ready to get started. So I turn it over to you, Randall.
Okay, well, let's do it. So, hey, so I'm here to talk about QGIS, and it's we got a lot to cover in 20 minutes. So this is going to be fun. We even got a demo. So hopefully this goes off without a hitch. It may crash, may blow up, who knows. But so to just cover who am I? Who's this weird guy holding a cat on the talk? I am Randall Hale. I own North River Geographic Systems. You guys may have seen me pop up some on the listserv, and I deal with QGIS community here in the U.S. I'm on the QGIS U.S. board, I guess, of sorts, and a few other things. And generally, I make my, I guess a disclaimer. This is what I do. I deal with open source stuff, QGIS, PostGIS. Was a many of a year ARC user. God, 20 some odd years, and have kind of migrated in this direction. And occasionally I have to touch the commercial stuff, but overall, it's all open all day. So, and I decided to do 318, which is the new version of QGIS. And I started out thinking, well, if I'm going to talk about kind of 318 in the future, I should go back a little bit and explain. And I was awash in changelog files. Since QGIS is open, they kind of, explain what happens every year. And so all the way back to 2006, when 0.7 was out, I found myself digging through here thinking this is a terrible way to do this. So I started the slide, killed it, and I just wanted to show you a screenshot of what 1.7. So in 2013, I was doing some work, and this is what QGIS looked like. You could make shape files, you could make a few things, you could view raster, you could make a PDF, you could print a map. It was functional. It wasn't pretty, but you could get what you needed done. And it was growing. It had only come out, and I think in 2006. 2005, maybe 2005.1 came out, and then in 2008 version 1 came out. So really in about 5 years, they'd migrated to 1.7, and then everything kind of changed when 2.0 came out, and 3.0 was a massive rewrite. And to kind of show you, and we're going to look at QGIS here in just a minute. As of the screenshot 3 days ago, the new version is 318 Zurich, and it has changed quite a bit. It has integration now with Arc Server. It has there's mobile components. There's it ties in very beautifully with PostGIS now, SQL Server, Oracle. There's processing tools, processing modelers. There's all this stuff now that QGIS does, all for the low cost of nothing. It's pretty amazing. And one of the developers said back a couple of years ago, I held a QGIS meeting here in Chattanooga, and we were able to get one of the lead developers to talk at it remotely. And he said, QGIS will do about 80% of what the commercial software will do, with about 20% added on. So, there's a little bit, there's about 80% of overlap with a 20% little topping on top. And, Arc Pro, I guess, all that stuff, same thing. There's about 80% overlap with 20% that QGIS won't do, but it does everything I need it to do. So how does it happen? QGIS has a budget. People donate money. I teach classes, and part of the class fee goes back to the organization. And their budget is about, a little bit less than 300,000 US dollars a year. I think it's like 240,000 euro or something. And they use this money for, website maintenance, for development, uh, everything you can think of to run an organization, essentially run a nonprofit. That's what they're using this money for. So every year people donate. Um, Companies will pay for changes. People will come and donate and say, well, can we get, better access to Amazon disk space? Can we get, Arc server to tie in better? And as an example, the browser component, uh, which we will look at coming up, was originally funded, I think, by one of the governments in Europe, and it was okay. It was very much an art catalog looking thing, but it has now morphed into its own component in QGIS, which is a panel, and actually I use it more than I do anything else. So it was funded, and became a piece of QGIS. Plugins, which are little add-ons, if they become popular, they become part of it. Developers working, want to add stuff, they add things, and it's a very, I wouldn't say it's chaotic, it's very organized the way they work. And then OGC standards come out, GeoPackage being one. GeoPackage is now the standard QGIS kind of format moving forward. So, still makes shapefiles, still makes SQLite databases, still makes KML, still makes everything, but GeoPackage has kind of been it. And if you also notice, they run a release schedule. So right now there's two versions of QGIS out. There's a long-term release, and there is a standard release. And if you notice right here in the middle, uh, something cool is going to happen tomorrow. There's a new version coming out, which is 3.18, which I'm running the beta copy right now. But at some point over the weekend, they will start releasing, the actual packages. And as I tell clients, customers, and everybody, give it a week. Wait a little bit, maybe next weekend, then start installing and taking a look at it. But it's very oriented, so you kind of know you're never going to pop open the software and go, oh, when did this happen? When was there a new release? They've got it listed out up until 2022, I think, when release dates happen. So, they release once every 3 months. There's a standard release, and the long term gets once a year. So if you're running in some kind of a government situation, the once a year release is great. He gets 14 service packs, I think. So it's pretty standard. 3.18 comes out. Like I said, probably tomorrow is going to be the official. They're going to can it and start releasing it. And there's about 65 some odd improvements in QGIS, which is a lot. And it's a lot to talk about in 20 minutes, 12 minutes now. And some of the stuff I'm going to show you, but there's improved zooming and panning for multiple layers. There's improved vision deficiency simulation. So if you're colorblind, that's probably one of the longest run components in QGIS has been a colorblind mode. Mesh enhancements, mesh or NetCDF and GRIB files. They usually come out of water simulation software like TwoFlow. 3D is a biggie we're going to look at. LIDAR is the biggie we're going to look at. There's digitizing enhancements. One of the things I found curious in all of this is that they mentioned that they have started work on a geocoder API. So I'm wondering if possibly in the future there's going to be a geocoding component that comes into QGIS. There are plugins which do geocoding, but it does make me wonder if this can be part of core. And they've been working on unifying the ArcGIS connectivity. Even up to, I think last week there was chatter on the listserv about the QGIS portion. So without further ado, let's see if this thing blows up. So hopefully you guys see QGIS coming up, and I've got kind of a little bit everything pulled up. I've got some other projects I've been working on, and I'm going to immediately pull up just the demo here. And what we've got is actually a DEM of Hamilton County. So I'm in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I think I said that earlier. And if you've ever come to Chattanooga, you have probably been here downtown um, to see, the aquarium or something. I keep threatening to make a fun, map of Chattanooga of things to go do. If I were to turn on the riverfront, you can see all the stuff here. Um, it's very simple. All we're doing is pulling up data. I've actually put all this in a geo package to kind of speed it up a little bit. But one of the things I wanted to show you is the preview mode. So preview mode, and this is one of the things that's gotten enhancements. They've actually removed fax simulation out of this, which is kind of funny. And they can actually simulate if you are colorblind. So if I want to do green color blindness, I can go in here and make changes, take a look at it. Let's put it back to normal. Probably didn't see a lot of change, but um, let's do this. The other thing they've been improving are the ArcGIS REST services connectivity. Used to, there was an ARC feature service and an ARC map service. It's now condensed into one. So I'm going to actually connect to Tennessee's server instance where they're pushing out a state ortho. I'm going to pull it in and hey, so now we're leveraging the ARC stuff. Um, if we wanted to come in and look, the aquarium, the Tennessee aquarium sitting here. If I actually want to go back into the preview mode for showing, let's see, you can't see red, and it probably is not changing a lot, but you can preview stuff. So if you're making a map, that is something to be worried about is, are your users colorblind or, how are they going to view what you're doing? The other thing they've also done in 3.8, if you've ever dealt with the ARC REST services or pulling in other stuff from over the web, when you move things, you would find the entire canvas would redraw, and they've actually stopped that. So it actually keeps what is in view as you're panning around. The other thing, and I believe this came out a little bit earlier, but if you right click anywhere in the screen, you can start copying coordinates. So you can grab the lat long, you can grab the map projection. My map projection is in 6576, which is a Tennessee state plane um, projection, which matches the LIDAR and stuff that I'm going to look at. There were enhancements in digitizing. I mean, there's a whole lot of stuff that's going on that they have pulled in. The panel that I was telling you about, the browser panel earlier, actually has become kind of a full featured part of QGIS. You actually now have a project home where you can open and shortcut everything and pull it in and keep it working. Something that I guess probably the ARC map users are used to with ARC catalog and things. You can kind of set up a project directory and work and pull things in. And probably one of the more weirder things that QGIS has been doing, they've been working on 3D. Now, this is nowhere near an ARC Pro level setup, but it's not too shabby when you really start looking at it. So I'm actually going to turn off a little bit of what I'm displaying here and actually show you 3D. And 3D itself, you can build your map layer. You can set this up. I'm going to set this up to display on the DEM. And I'm also going to tilt. And I need to turn off some things. What is that gray thing showing up there in the middle? But anyway, we'll deal with it. Hey, there we go. So you can see 3D. Not grand, not glorious, but you do get 3D. The nice thing is I can also pull in the ortho that I'm streaming now from the state, get that in 3D. If I go here back downtown, just kind of looking down, you'll see the ortho come in. It also tiles itself back in. I'm going to speed the tiling up just a little bit for our purposes of this, either that or I'm going to blow it up and add buildings. So when buildings come in, buildings are in 3D. So all this stuff is now accessible now through the QGIS interface. You'll see I do have some buildings that have no elevation on them that are kind of flashing, but overall not bad. And every year 3D gets a little bit better um, with QGIS as they work with it. It's usually a Google Summer of Code thing that they work with. So the biggie, here's the big thing I want to show you guys. They ran a huge crowdfunding campaign back last year and were able to get LIDAR working. And so I'm going to actually display the point cloud for downtown and display that, which, whoops, as we go underwater. But it makes it very, very, this is huge that you can now display a LAS or a ZLAS. I mean, not, excuse me, not a ZLAS file. You can display a LAS or a LAS file, a LAZ or LAS, very easy. And, if you look at the data below, if I turn off this ortho and turn off some other things, you can see the LIDAR down here. You can see it up here. So the ability to display LIDAR now in 318, that's pretty big. It's not perfect. It won't be perfect probably for a couple of releases, but this is their first cut at doing it. And I believe it probably the next update, you're going to start seeing processing tools come in. Grass already processes LiDAR, but to get these native functions into QGIS will be pretty large. So, but yeah, that's it. LiDAR and QGIS. I never thought I would see it, but it's there. So to jump back to the presentation, I'm getting there. So 318 gets released, 320. There's been rumors now about 4.0. When do they go to 4? What does 4 look like? 3 saw a complete rewrite to get Python 3 in 64-bit, everything perfectly working. Moving forward, there's been some talk on the list, removing unused code, removing things that don't get a lot of love. As of recently, the DB2, the IBM DB2 database, they have a driver. It's not been updated. It's going to get removed. It makes for a better user experience. If stuff doesn't stagnate and become buggy. The amount of work they did now with connecting to Arc server, I expect that to get even better. Assuming Esri doesn't change something or make something to where we can't, they will keep adding in features and making that connectivity even better. You can't necessarily edit against it, but you can pull stuff in. So, and GeoPackage is uniform between ArcPro and QGIS, so you can edit in edit in QGIS, hand it off to ArcPro, or vice versa. So we've got a little bit of a passageway between the two. Mobile, QGIS is always kind of, I guess I was used to struggling a little bit with mobile, but what has happened now, there's actually 2 mobile packages. One is Input, which is a commercial product, and one is QField. There's also Fulcrum, which is another commercial product, but all 3, especially these two are essentially QGIS. So you can build a project on your desktop, transfer it to your phone, and you've got, your data with you, and you can make edits and then transfer that back to your laptop. So mobile is happening in a good way, and I expect that to get even better. Also, which really isn't mobile but sort of is checking out data. A client a couple of years ago was frantic about taking data out of PostGIS into the field with them, and there is a way to check data out in QGIS, and 3.0 was terrible, and at 318 it's actually pretty decent. So you can check data out, work with it, and check it back in. QGIS will keep up with that, and So, and with LIDAR, as I said earlier, I expect, we're going to get down to the point where you're going to start to seeing more analysis and more stuff with native point clouds. It's going to go beyond viewing, but right now it's just viewing, but it's not too terrible, not too shabby. And I think that's my 20. So hey, watch for QGIS events coming up. We ran a nationwide I guess a remote conference back in August of last year. Videos are up. Hopefully we'll do that again this year from the QGIS US group, and the QGIS International group is doing a hack day the last Friday of every month. So you can tune into YouTube and watch that, and hey, contribute to GRASS, contribute to QGIS. Um, it's a big world out there. There's a lot of powerful stuff happening. I mean, the whole fact that you can view your point cloud data now in QGIS, with a software with a budget of less than 300,000 is pretty amazing. So I guess with that, I'm done. Hopefully.
Well, it's up to you. We've got 10 minutes. We do have a couple of questions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's a ton of good information in there. Our first question is from Eric. Have you had a chance to use the Nomatum geocoding?
No.
No.
I have not. That just has just made an appearance with 318. So I don't know if it's entirely functional, but they've started laying the groundwork for having geocoding in there.
Well, he also says that geocoding is one thing that I've struggled with in QGIS and have been forced to use other software, including Esri sometimes. Do you have any tips on that?
Any tips on what? Sorry, you were fading out there just for a second.
Any tips on how to improve geocoding in QGIS?
I do not. There are several plugins. There's QGIS plugin and a couple other ones that will do geocoding. Generally, I'm still a fallback to the Census Bureau guy and run against the Census geocoder. But with Nominatum, and Nominatum is an OpenStreetMap geocoder, so that tends to get a lot of love from different companies like Mapbox and different things. So I would expect with Nominatum, with this template or this building block coming out, that pretty soon you'll have a processing tool in here that you may be able to geocode against Nominatum, which could be good, could be bad. I mean, it depends on where you're at. So
yeah, we have some more questions coming in. The next one is, how did you get to the 3D icon?
Oh, okay. So let me move this out of the way. Just waiting for this to tank, which would be awesome. There's nothing like having a demo that crashes. So 3D, if you go into your views, you will see that there is a 3D map view here, and when you open it, you'll get a window open somewhere. I wonder if I already have one open. I don't see it open. Let's try it again. Uh-oh. Let's pretend that. Let's open a new one. I think that one may be about ready to tank. That's the joy of running beta software on a demo. See if we can get this to open real quick. Kill. Here we go. 3D is located under views. So when you go in here, you can open a new 3D map view. And if I kick that open real quick, view 3D map view, you see this comes up. Now the controls aren't great, and there's been some discussion on the list about revamping the controls and making things a little bit better, but that gives you 3D where you can then spin and look and everything. And it also gives you more windows. So you can open other map views. You can link views together, having your imagery on one, your vector data on another. But yeah, that's where 3D is hiding. And basically you just click and guide pushing down your mouse, pushing your mouse up, and working that way. So,
Right, we have another question from, um, is editing of ArcGIS feature services limited by QGIS or by Esri?
by Esri. Um, you can connect, but ever since STE quit being a thing, and I don't know when that stopped being a thing because I hardly ever use it anymore. I hardly ever use ARC and stuff, but there were some editing components that would go against STE, and with whatever's happening now, you really can't edit against REST or anything else, which I would probably say would be a good thing. I guess if you're running a enterprise environment, uh, it's kind of frustrating. It would be nice if you could, but you got to maintain you got to maintain the stranglehold somehow. So, um, but you can view, and you can edit services, you can edit WFS, you can edit GeoPackage, which ArcPro will produce. So, and SQLite and a few other things. So there's ways around, you know, everything.
Amy is curious about the capability to host map/data online to share with others.
To push maps out to share online.
Yeah, maps
Uh,
and data.
oh, okay. So QGIS has a server component. If you do some searching, you'll see stuff for LizMap and a couple other things. There's a couple of providers that are providing, I guess that a couple of commercial firms are providing that service, but you can create maps and push. There isn't so much like I guess a story map type deal with this, but there is a server component that is up and running, and so you can create your maps, push them in the server, and it does have an interface that will let you view the maps. I haven't used it a lot. Um, it's been rather hard to use until the last little bit. They've been streamlining, getting that more usable. So right now it's still a little bit hard to do. There is a plugin actually, and now you say that QGIS to web. So plugins are an itch that developers need scratched, and this plugin will generate a web map from your current project. So you can set up and get a leaflet or an open layers map and push this to a web server. If you have a web server set up, you can actually run this, create your own map, and it's free. You just download it and run it. And so that would be another way to do it. Probably an easier way to do it would be to use this plugin. So probably I would run it, but I'm scared to run it. Crash everything in front of everybody. But um, there's the export to map plugin or the QGIS to web plugin.
We have a specific question about the magnet icon on your QGIS. What is it?
Yeah. Yeah, this right here, like what is it?
Yeah.
Snapping. So if you were looking to do some editing and you wanted to snap, and we're going to edit very quickly the street layer, I'm going to zoom into here, and I'm going to set snapping up to snap to vertices and line segments. And very, very quickly, if you notice in the snapping, you'll see a little pink. Let's set that up for 50. You see, notice a little pink little X come up. I can digitize from here, and that's my snapping environment. So that's what the magnet does, and it makes sure that you snapped everything. You also have some topology tools built into here. You can check to make sure that things meet, things don't overlap, things don't have a gap. Um, and along with this magnet, there's a whole host of things on here where you can digitize and allow overlap, avoid overlap. Enable snapping on intersections. So if you have two layers that cross each other like a bridge and a stream, you can snap to that intersection of those two layers. So, and trace. So you can also trace other features and trace offset and do a lot of things. So yeah, that's the
Yeah.
magnet.
Okay, I'm sorry, I hate to interrupt, but we are at almost at 1:30 now. There is a break after this, so we have the option. There's a few more questions in the chat. So if you're willing, and those of you that still have questions, we can stay on. But I do want to let everybody else know that there is a break from from now until 2. So um, those of you that have to leave, thanks for coming. And those of you that don't, you go ahead and get back to our next question.
Cool.
Do you have any hardware recommendations for running?
Hardware recommendations. Generally, anything will run QGIS. I've got a so now pulled something up. I can't get. There we go. Um, I've got a business class machine that runs perfectly fine. The machine I'm running on is a little bit beefier because I do everything on it, but generally anything with 8 gig of RAM should be fine. I am noticing with the LIDAR, um, you know, tools that are out now, it does stress a little bit. Um, but basically, if you've got a computer, it should run QGIS. You don't really need a gaming style machine with all the bells and whistles and the expense that comes with it. So I paid I think $1,000 for the machine I'm running now. It's a System 76, which is basic. My extravagance was 32 gig of RAM and an SSD drive. Um, QGIS seems to run fine under 4 to 5 gig. So even with the LiDAR stuff pulled up.
We have one last question.
Okay.
Sheila was wondering if you could please give a quick overview of the Python updates from version 3 to now.
The overview of what again? Sorry, you were fading out.
From Python updates from version 3 to now.
Sorry, you broke up again.
Yeah, let me chat it to you really quick.
Oh, okay. Where's my chat?
It should pop up when I say.
Oh my God. I see. I've got a chat window. Oh, Python version updated from 3 till now. Um, so in version 2 of QGIS, they're running I think it was 2.7.8 or 2.8 of Python, and then when 3 came out, they did a complete rewrite to move to Python 3. As of right now, let's see if they list Python. What version they are running against, but I believe they're running like up to whatever the current version is. There's also a Python window console built in, and it doesn't really tell me anything worthwhile. But I believe they're running the current version of 3, whatever 3 is out currently. So that was hey, there we go. And Doug says it runs fine on a 6-year-old i7 12 gig of RAM. So, and I think the Lenovo I have is 6 or 7 years old, and it's only got 8 gig of RAM, I think.
Randall, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
I think that was our last question. So
Okay.
I think I might be contacting you later.
Cool.
I want to get back into using it. Thanks a lot, and
Okay.
and hope you have a good conference. Be ready to end the session.